Happy Monday, everybody. How was your weekend? I hope you had a lovely time. I've had a lovely weekend buying a kitchen. Well, I haven't bought a kitchen, but I've looked at lots of kitchens and I've chosen one, so that's very exciting. Because my kitchen is about 45 years old. So it's somebody else's kitchen from a very long time ago. It's an interesting looking kitchen. So that's been a lovely weekend for me, and I really hope that you might have been able to see the Sunday service, the Education Sunday service, because it was a fantastic service that the church put on, and lots of our teachers were in it. So I've included the link in the in this morning's email to the teachers in case anybody wants to have a look at that. But it's quite long and I had planned this assembly, so I thought that I would still share this with you. So we're going to start our assembly today by saying peace be with you. Oh, thank you guys, that's great. And if you haven't already, because you might have done this because you're getting ready for your assembly today, can you please light or turn on your candle? And if you're not able to do that, don't worry. I know Mrs. Tuppen is sorting out matches and candles, I believe. So get yourselves ready. And it's really nice to have a candle so that we can just hold God with us during this time together. Or if that isn't for you, then you can just use the candle to think about something that's important to you, perhaps a person that needs your love at the moment. So we are working on a theme of family at the moment, as you may know from my previous assembly, and I just put that there, We Are Family, because that's one of my favourite songs. And we've already thought about who is in our school family, lots of people. And then I wanted to ask you what we all have in common. So have a think about that. And again, you might want to pause me at this point. What do we all have in common? So just have a little think. You might want to pause me and ask some questions, have some hands up. It's really up to you. Okay, so what do we all have in common? Now, I think that we have a love for one another. I know that some people feel very much they have a love for God in our church school. We all go to Rowledge Primary School or are connected to Rowledge Primary School in some way. I was thinking we all have family. So that's really important, isn't it? And there's lots and lots of things that we have in common. Now, some of us have things in common like we have dark hair, or we have blue eyes, or we love dogs, or we like chips. I love chips. So there's lots of things that we might have in common. And then I want to ask you the next question, but are we all the same? And I can see you all going, no, we're not all the same. Of course we're not all the same. In fact, none of us are exactly the same, even if we look very, very alike. So some people look very alike, and particularly if we're identical twins, we look very alike. Hi, girls. And but not everybody is, nobody is exactly the same. So I then wanted you to think, what makes us different or individual? So I would really like you to stop at this point and have a think about what makes us different or individual. Okay, I think you're back. So what makes us different or individual? I found this really tricky. I was thinking, well, what makes me different or individual? I tried to think, well, maybe because I'm a head teacher, but there are lots of head teachers, so not entirely. I think it's really hard. So you could start to think about things that you think make you different or individual, and then you will realise that there are other people that maybe also have those things. But the only person who knows how we think inside is ourselves. So then I started to think about the way our brain works, and nobody has the same exact thoughts at the same time. We all think differently. So we might think similarly, And there will people in life, you will find people that we say we have a lot in common. So we get on well, or we have a lot in common because we have a lot of the same thoughts. So in our school, another thing that makes us very similar is that I would say most of us, if not all of us, really believe in our school values. So you could say our values are the same. Now, our values have kind of been made by our school community, so they may not have been your exact values, but I can't imagine there's anybody that doesn't believe in kindness. And I can't imagine there's anybody, even if we slip up a little bit sometimes, that doesn't believe in honesty. And I know that occasionally we slip up with this one, but I know that you all believe in respect. But we still all think differently. So not exactly the same. And then I found this and I absolutely love it. So I'm going to show you this a bit closer. So this is a wheel, and it's to do with the way that our brain operates and the way that we think. And there's lots of different words, some of which are too big words for all of us. But have a look at some of them. And I was thinking about memory, the green one. And I think that most of you will understand that you have a memory and you can remember things or not. And some people have a really good memory. And if your memory is really good, you would you'd put yourself on the outside of this sort of, well, it's sort of like a wheel, isn't it? But some of you will be able to tell me which shape that is. Ooh. Oh, yeah, I think some of you have got it. Well done. Because that is actually, come on, Miss Oliver, I need to be counting quickly, a 10-sided shape. Wowzers. Yep. I know some of you know that. So have a think about yourself, and we'll have a look at some of these words. And some of them are too big for some of you, but I think it's really important. So some people, can you see at the top there, you've got that red anxiety. And it's a bit like worry, isn't it, anxiety? Now for me, sometimes I'm near the centre, my anxiety is low. And sometimes I'm near the outside, my anxiety is high. But generally, probably I'm somewhere near the middle, I think. So I do think I'm somewhere near the middle of that kind of upside down triangle. So it's not really, really high, but it's not really, really low. And then I like the one to the left, that sort of school colour one, motivation. How motivated are you? Now I know that I am right there on the outside. I'm very motivated, but sometimes I have days where I'm not very motivated. So generally, so it's also going to be changeable day by day, these things. Look at the purple one, my favourite colour, social confidence. That means how confident you are when you're being out and about and social, or just being with other people. So how confident are you with other people? How confident are you perhaps with your friends? So some people are very socially confident. I'm very socially confident. I like being in groups. I like talking to people. But some people are not socially confident. They really don't like groups, and that's okay too. So there's no right or wrong here. It's not better to be on the outside. And for example, anxiety, you would hope your anxiety isn't too high because you don't want your worries to be too high. So it's not better or worse to be on the outside or on the centre. You're just going to be somewhere on all of these things. Social rules. So that means whether we understand how to sort of be in our society. And of course, our society and different people have different ideas about that. But some people know not to pick their nose in front of people, and some people don't. I know, that was gross, that one, wasn't it? Some people understand that people don't like to be touched, and other people touch people a lot more because they don't understand. So that's another one. At the moment, obviously, we're trying not to touch people because things are different. Social use of language, so it's just the way we say things. So it might be that some people get things right all the time in the way they say things, and other people might say things that people think, that's a little bit strange, because they don't really understand. Flexibility in thinking, I thought this one was a really good one. I'm at the bottom now, another one of the blue ones. So how flexible are you? And that means with your thinking, can you sort of change your mind about things, or are you quite stuck in your views? And I have to say, I think I'm a bit stuck sometimes. So if I get an idea, I think this is the idea, this is the way to go. And then it takes a little bit more for someone to say, no, hang on a minute, Miss Oliver, I don't think that that's quite the way we should go. Some of the teachers are good at that. They sometimes say to me, I'm not sure about that, Miss Oliver. I think maybe we need to try something different. But I think my flexibility in my thinking is not as high as maybe I would like it. It's maybe something I like to work on. And then there's some other ones around here. So around the other side. So attention, how easy is it for you to keep your attention? Now, some of you are really good at attention. So in class, you're like, yes, I am listening all the time. I find this very easy, very easy. I can just listen all the time. And other people are little wiggle people and they don't find attention so easy. It's not their fault. They just don't. It's just the way they are. So they just don't find keep their attention so easily. And so they might need something to help them. So you will know that some people have wiggle cushions in our school. That helps them. And they might have other things. And they might have their own strategies to help them. And then sensory. Now that means it's things that may be in the world that maybe bother you. So for example, just one example, I'm not great with loud noises unless I've chosen to have them. So I can turn up music really, really loud in the car, love it. I can go to concerts, I've planned to go, love it. I love loud music. But if maybe the TV's on too loud at home and I haven't chosen that, I'm like, I don't really like that, it's really bothering me. And if there's maybe a ticking clock or something and I sort of tune into it and it's all I can hear and I think, oh, I really don't like that, please stop that noise. So I can be sensory in my sound, but not all the time. And that's like lots of people. And then the very last one, the orange one, impulsivity. Now that just means that you maybe do things without thinking or you're always thinking about what you do. And so sometimes, for example, maybe if you were to see something the other side of the road, and this one can be a little dangerous perhaps occasionally, and you didn't think, oh, I need to stop because obviously it's a road, and you just went across the road. That would be quite impulsive and that could potentially be tricky, although impulsivity could be totally amazing in that you could be like, oh, I can just do that and do something exciting. So a bit like myself and Mrs. Fraser, impulsively we decided to book the abseil. And then last night I saw it on telly, someone doing it, and thought, oh my goodness, I'm not sure that I thought about this when I signed up. I think I just signed up, so I thought it was a good idea. And now I'm thinking, that looks quite tricky. So I'm going to be a little bit scared on Sunday. So all of those things are just how all of our brains work, okay? But some people have maybe more of those that cause them a few difficulties. And then I was thinking, I don't know if you've heard about autism and the autistic spectrum. So some people have autism and people talk about people being on the autistic spectrum. And I think most of you will have heard this word. Some of you will be like, I don't know what you're talking about, Miss Oliver. But I was thinking about this because I believe that we are all on a spectrum, like the wheel. We're all on the wheel, definitely. And I know that there are things about me that make me what I would say is more on the spectrum. So maybe some of these things are higher, like maybe the flexibility in thinking, perhaps. Because another thing that I've been struggling with is arrows in shops. If the arrow says I have to go a certain way at the moment because of the coronavirus, I find it very difficult to go in the other direction, even if I really, really need to go in that direction because I can't get out of the shop. So I think sometimes we're all on the spectrum. So some people are called, it says you have autism. Someone has said, actually, I think that person has autism. Some people it might say that people are on the spectrum of autism. I think we're all on the spectrum, but just in different places. So I think it's really interesting. I don't think we're all autistic, but I just think that everybody is on the spectrum somewhere. And some people are very, very low, so you would notice nothing that's like autism about them. And other people will have something that makes them think, yes, I'm a little bit on that spectrum. So people who are on the autistic spectrum, I think are quite amazing because they often have different ways of thinking about things. So people who have autism or are on the spectrum, sometimes it's called ASD, autistic spectrum disorder. I don't know why it's called disorder because it's something that I find quite marvellous. But they think differently. And I've got a little film now, and you're actually going to stop me and you're going to go out of here because partly for copyright reasons and partly because I'm not as clever as Mr. Yates, I'm doing it separately. It's a bit of a risk with the copyright, but also I need you to stop me and I want you to watch this film, and then I want you to have a little bit of time to think about it and talk about it if needed, and then I want you to come back to me. Okay, so you're going to stop me now. Stop me. Yeah, you did it. And now we're going to come back because you've watched the film, I hope. So I just wanted to say I love different. I really do. I was talking about this at the weekend. I mean, if we were all the same and we all thought in the same way, the world would not be so marvellous. And when I say I love different, I mean if someone is autistic or on the autistic spectrum, actually like my Uncle Tim, he's totally on the spectrum and he's fantastic. One of the things my Uncle Tim can do that not many people can do, because his brain works differently, he can remember dates. So he can say to me, oh yes, that was at 3 o'clock in 1984. And I think, how do you know that, Uncle Tim? But he's really interesting. And people have all sorts of differences, not just autism. People have all sorts of differences. They have all sorts of difficulties, all sorts of strengths, all sorts of talents. And I love it that we're all different. So I just really think it's a time to reflect on our differences and think about anybody that you know who perhaps struggles in a way because they're different, and then think about, well, how can we help them? Because everybody should be different. So I want you to have a little bit of time now. I'm going to put on one of my favourite songs, and I want you to have a bit of time to reflect on people that you know in our school family or externally who may have some differences, and think about how wonderful that is, how absolutely wonderful it is that we are all different. Oh, I love that song. I absolutely love it. It says believe in what you believe in yourself, and oh, it's just brilliant. Oh, thank you so much for listening today, guys. It's really lovely to see you. And we are going to end in a prayer with a big amen, okay? So put your hands together and close your eyes if you wish. Dear Lord, help us to always appreciate each other's differences. Help us to recognise the differences in ourselves and the differences in each other, and help us to celebrate those and realise that whatever they are, we are all part of the human race and all loved by you. In Jesus' name, Amen. Thank you very much, guys. Have a lovely day.